Welcome back to Code Hive, the place where we make it work, make it right, and make it fast. So in the previous two videos, we looked at using inner joins, full outer joins, left joins, as well as right joins. So in this video, we will be looking at self joins. Okay. So what is self joins? So self joins basically is when a table is joined with itself. That is known as a self join, right? So for a self join, we normally use aliases. I do have a video where I do talk about that, so please check that out. So we do use aliases to distinguish between various instances of the same table. Okay, so let's look at the syntax. So there's two different ways in which you can do it. So the first way is kind of a long way. So you select, right, T1 dot column 1, T2 column 2 from table 1 as T1. That's the alias, right? Then you inner join with the same table, but you give it an alias of T2. So table 1 as T2. And then where do they join? Where T1 dot the column is equals to T2 dot the column. Okay, so the same column from T1 and T2. Keeping in mind that T1 and T2 is coming from the same table. So the second syntax that we see over there is select the column names, right, from table 1 T1 and then table 1 T2 and then your condition. So the easiest way is the second way, but depending on what you feel more comfortable with, it will depend on what you will use. So basically that's just some theory based on self joins. So let us look at an example. Okay, so now that we have looked at the theory on self joins, right, I want us to actually look at an example, right? So once you've opened up your Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, the first thing that you need to do is press the new query, as well as making sure that you are using your specific database that has all your tables, right? Okay, so I'm still using, so for this example, actually, I will be using one table. So I will be using my employees table, right? Because it's a self join, right? So you only need one table. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do, like everything else in SQL, is your select statement, right? Okay, so we're still going to use aliases. So from the employee table is I want the employee name as well as the employee surname. Okay, so the first thing that I want, so I'm creating an alias, right? So employee name. Okay, so employee name as employee 1. Okay, so you see what I did over there. So if you still haven't watched my video where I talk about aliases, please do so. So what I did over there is I'm creating a column alias as well as a table alias. That's what I'm doing over there. Okay, so I still want the employee name, but now I'm going to give it a different table alias, right? Okay, so employee name. Okay, and then now I'm giving it a column alias, right? So let me just say as so I want that to be employee 2. Okay, and then the next thing that I want to select is the employee surname, but the employee surname is just coming from the E table. So employee surname. Okay, from where? So the first table, right, we're using the same table, yes, but I created an alias with E. So employees table, the first alias that I created is E. Then the second alias that I'm creating, it's still coming from the employees table, is this one, is the emp. So that's the second table alias, right? So what do I have? Let's just quickly recap this. So I have an employees table, which I gave an alias of E, and I want the employee name from that table as employee 1. And then I still use the same table, but I'm giving it a different table alias, right? And I'm giving it emp. And I still want the employee name, but from that emp table, right? Yes, it's still the same table, but from that specific table with that specific alias. And I'm giving that a column alias of employee 2. And that one I gave a column alias of employee 1. And then I want the employee surname from the E table, right? Okay. So now my where statement. So where, right, the employee ID in the E table, so in the employees table with an alias E, is not equal to the employee ID from this emp. So still emp ID, employee ID, right? But where the employee ID in this table alias is not the same as the employee ID in that table alias. Okay. So, and where the employee surname, right, in the E alias table is equals to the employee surname in the emp alias table. Okay. And then I want to order by E dot surname. Okay, so I'm going to explain that again. So select E dot employee name as employee 1, column alias, table alias. Second one, table alias, column alias. And then the second one, I just want the surname. From which tables? Still the same table, but this table has an alias of E and that table has an alias of emp. Where the employee ID in the E alias table is not equal to the employee ID in the emp alias table, right? And the employee surname at the E alias table is equal to the employee surname at the emp alias table. Oh my word, so many things. Okay, and then you order it by E dot employee surname. So basically, what I want to see is I want to see employee 1 as well as employee 2 from the same table, where the employee ID in that table, right, is not equal to the employee ID in that same table, but different aliases, but where the surname is the same. And then you order it by the employee surname. So let's quickly just execute this so we can see. Okay, so this is your result. Okay, so basically what happened is that we have the two employees, right? So we have employee 1, which is the column alias, as well as employee 2, which is the column alias, right? And the employee surname. So first employee is called Dean, right? The second employee is called Megan. Surname, where this employee surname is equal to that employee surname, but it's coming from the same table, but we're using different aliases. So it just displayed again. We still have Megan as employee 1 and we still have Dean as employee 2, and they still share the same surname. So that's a self join. So you want specific information from the same table, but where the IDs are probably not the same and where something is the same. So in this case, the surname is the same, but then the IDs are not the same. That's when you're going to use a self join as well as a column alias and a table alias. But I hope this really does make sense, and that's basically a self join.